What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We have here Blaise Grinner. He is a man on a mission, quitting the tradie life in Australia, raking in the big bucks to reshaping his life and purpose through visionary leadership, or what he's known as to be placed on this earth to do, which is activating a generation of men, taking them on the longest journey of their life, out of their head and into their heart. Blaise, how you going, man?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. We are so stoked to have you. Now, look, my intro isn't done, right? So Blaise isn't doing this alone. You know, he has the support of his amazing work and obviously the counterbalance with raising his three greatest children or greatest adventures of his life, his kids with his partner, Melinda. And obviously this journey of activating a new generation of men and raising his little big adventures with Melinda is what makes Blaise the unstoppable person we need to get on this podcast to listen to. So listen to, learn from, and obviously get some actionable takeaways so we can all be better dads and high performers in life. So Blaise, does that kind of sum everything up? I did a little bit of research on you, and we've obviously had a bit of a chat, and obviously everybody who was listening to that probably saw I was reading off the screen, but I just wanted to make sure I covered everything. But Blaise,
you nailed it, bro. Don't stress. You nailed it.
That's me. That's me in a nutshell, man. Definitely a family man, but I also look at life as holistic, but I spell it WHOLE, that we can be men on purpose with a massive vision, be present fathers, committed in relationships, and everything in between, man. So it is possible. 6 years ago, I didn't think it was. But yeah, in this present moment, I know it is.
So, Brendo, do you want to kick us off? Let's go. Let's get straight.
All right, let's get it. Okay, so the red carpet's out for me now. So Blaise, you've been a dad for a while now. So tell us a little bit about your emotional experience in uncovering with who you needed to become to be like this amazing father, and you know the mission that you're behind.
Yeah, man. And so since I was 17, I always wanted to become a father. But then it was just needed to ensure that I had that correct relationship and just knew it was right. I want to take it back to the moment that we actually conceived our first child. And so Melinda, my fiance, my future wife, we're getting married in November, she was doing this women's empowerment course. And one of the questions was, what's something you haven't done in your life and why? And we've done our life back to front. So we went into business together. We moved in together, 2 months after we'd met, not married, and we were going all in with money, finance, everything, but there was no ring on the finger and stuff. So we're like, let's think about this because this could be a big question. So we sat on it for 24 hours. We're laying in bed and we're like, ready? We'll sat at the same time. 1, 2, 3, we're like, have a baby. I'm like, what? Oh my God. And so it was like the best baby making love that we made that night. Breath, our eldest boy, was born, man. He was like, bang. The very next day, all of my shit came to the surface. All of Melinda's shit came to the surface. My commitment issues, Melinda's abandonment stuff, all the childhood stuff that we hadn't healed came to the surface. And so it was super rocky, super challenging for both of us to navigate that. For me, as a man, I'm I would say, what a conscious man or integrated man, like to discuss things and talk about things. But what I realized is I didn't have a circle of men to talk to about fatherhood. So I was scared as fuck, man. I was like, I just left construction. I'd started my own business. It was failing. Like, how am I going to pay for this child, let alone just put food on the table for my partner and I? So I actually started a men's movement. And the very first circle I ran was called Dads and Dads to Be. Because I just wanted to get men in my life to talk about fatherhood and all these challenges. And men's work was amazing. This is like 5 years ago, that I went into some men's teams and was able to talk about my fears around finances. Like how do I show up during the birth of my child? Because our fathers and father's father weren't present in the room. So we did like calm birthing and all this stuff. And I wanted to absorb, how can I be, and it's interesting, how can I be the best father that I can be? And with that has been detrimental too, because I've also created this mindset, I have to be the world's first perfect father, which will never fucking happen. There's so much pressure I placed upon myself. Becoming a dad, man, that journey of pregnancy was just amazing, man. Backwards and forwards of big emotions with myself. But really, really was excited for the process, man. And birth, going to that process of birth, breath, our eldest boy was 27 hours. And it was amazing, man. And then to catch my boy, I had this a surreal experience, man. The whole world stopped. It was only present in that room. And I spoke about this to some spiritual mentors afterwards, I felt I felt parameters in my heart that I didn't know existed. And they said, well, they actually did exist. It's just you didn't have a reference point. And so with the eldest boy, he gave me the reference point, to feel this unconditional love. Unless it has been amazing, man. Now, I've got 3 kids. So Brett is the eldest, so the air element. Oak is the middle boy, so is the earth element. And then our daughter Ocean is the water element, Blaze fire. So that should give your viewers a little bit of insight about who I am as a man, and we love nature and adventure. Now, when Oak was born, I had these preconceived ideas that this was going to be this really big, hard opening experience again. Caught him, held him, and for the first 8 weeks, I literally could not see him as his own identity because he was identical to his oldest brother, and I didn't have this euphoric experience. So I started to beat myself up and question myself, like, fuck, can I love 2 children at the same time? Like, is this normal? So I started talking about it openly on social media, and it was interesting. Some of these videos got the most views because I had the balls to talk about, hey man, my boy's only like 6 weeks old and I can't see him for his own identity. Do you feel like this? Is this normal? And man, everyone across the board, it was just like so many people like, dude, I'm so glad you thought about this. I thought it was just me. I'm like just having these open conversations. But then it was about 9 weeks in that he started, I could see his own identity form. But just through that conversation, what my second boy, what he literally made me remember or realize as a father is that I can love 2 things simultaneously at equal amounts at the exact same time. And then, yeah.
That's wild, man. I'm just going to pop in there and what you said, I love that because that's the same reason why we started this is we wanted to be around men and, be a part of these stories. And it was somewhat selfish, but we're like, hey, we want to be great dads and we want to be able to openly speak about stuff and pull things from it. So Ken and I both have 1 child and that's something which I'm trying to grasp at the moment, whether we have a second, because I'm like, I love this little baby like so much. I like can't even get it through my head that I could love something equally at the same time. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm going to go through the same sort of thing where I'm like, hold on, and a completely different experience. So, yeah, I completely relate to that one.
Yeah. We have a few jokes in the men's teams around, like, don't come at me with your 1-child mentality. Because I have 3. Because I remember, man, being like, with the 1 child, man, we still ran business together. We were taking him in. He was pregnant. We were still speaking on stages, all that kind of stuff. And, like, he came to men's circles when he was 6 months old, man. Like, I just immersed him into everything. So this dude was, like, in the middle of men's circles at 6 months up until, like, 18 months till his little brother came. Second child, it all changed. Because it's like, oh man, there's 2 kids now. So we've got like 1 each. And it was like this dynamic change. 3 is like, oh my God, we're outnumbered.
Yeah, wow.
Why did we have 3? And so now we got friends in men's teams, like they had the 1 child. And I was like, oh, I remember that, man. I remember it was still sort of, we could navigate. Maybe it took a little bit longer to watch a movie, but we could navigate life. Now with 3 children, it's like, oh man, like we have to adjust. We have to pivot. So don't come at me with your 1-child mentality. Like, but if we say that with Jess, man, like humor has been the best medicine for fatherhood. To have these places where we can come and talk about our stresses and our challenges and the weight we feel as fatherhood and the pressure we place upon ourselves, but bring that light to the situation and that humor. It just fuels us to keep going. And yeah, man.
Totally. I think that's so amazing there, Blaise. Look, I want to kind of circle back. You said, you're involved with men's work, and I know we've touched on it, but for people who aren't familiar with men's work, can you just define that a little bit for us? Because, you're talking about men's circles, and for individuals who aren't in or even like open to the kind of thought process or even been around men's work or men's groups, men's circles, that can still sound a little bit like, what the fuck is that? Is that a cult? Yeah. Is that a group of guys coming together? Like what the fuck is this?
Yeah,
give us a little bit of a breakdown. What is a men's group?
Bro, so 6 years ago, I didn't even know a men's group existed. And the thought that I had was that men that worked on themselves were long-haired hippie dudes at Sun Kumbaya. That was what I got ingrained in my head, and it was cult-ish. That was my psyche then. I didn't know any better because I didn't know what I didn't know. Now, how I describe men's work, it is personal development or life coaching, but we remove the feminine. So we remove female gender. And so it's men only. The beauty with that is there's so many masks men wear when there's women present. We remove women because I've done workshops with both. And the level of authenticity where men will go when there is no women present and how safe they feel just with being other men is like 80%, 100%, way more. Then as a collective, there is some men that will go there, but as a collective, to remove that gender. Now, my belief is that we need to do this. that men need to go together because we have walked in each other's shoes. And a lot of men are leaning on their partners and dumping their shit on their partners, and it's not their role. They're using their partners as their mother. And this is where this little boy is like leaning on their mum, and men, this is a generalization, aren't standing on their own 2 feet because they haven't been taught to be with their emotions. They're leaning too much into that way, onto their partner and dumping their emotions. And like, it's not the feminine's role to hold the masculine.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, right? That you kind of mentioned that because look, I read books, I know Brendo does as well in like these types of areas, and it's like when you come and do that at home, then the female has to now adopt a masculine position, and now you've just changed your dynamics in the home, and that kind of can wreak havoc everywhere, from your sex life to your relationship to how you raise your kids. And it's not to say that you have to necessarily be the masculine, the man of the house every single day and moment, but like, you talk to us a little bit about that, like why that's kind of important.
Yeah. So the difference that I see is like, there's this buzzword going around and that women are saying so much on social media. And I fell in this trap that they want men to be vulnerable. They want men to be vulnerable, but they don't. They don't want vulnerability. What they want is transparency. There's a difference. So vulnerability is all that raw emotion and like the fear. Imagine if you went up to your partner and said, and she's pregnant or you got young kids, I'm so scared about finances. I don't know where the money's coming in. Like, and that pressure we feel as men. Imagine dumping that on your partner, what that would do to her psyche. Not like, especially with young children, the hormones and everything would close up, the oxytocin that she's producing, the milk, all that kind of stuff, man. So that vulnerability, because that is there, that pressure the provider is there. We come into men's teams, we come into men's work, and we share that challenge because we know what it's like as men to feel that pressure. Doesn't say that we don't talk about those emotions, but once we're able to clear them, we're not reacting from them, we can come back to our partners like, hey babe, just want to let you know, I've been really struggling like the past couple of weeks thinking about money and stressing about it, but I've gone to my men's team, I've got some solutions, I know how we're going to do this, and we're going to sit down and do some budgets. So we're being the masculine thing, but she's seeing and she's open to our heart there, especially around like that pressure of finances and that. The same goes with pregnancy. I'm a huge advocate that women need to circle up with women as well, because we don't know as men what the fuck happens to a woman's body when she gets pregnant. Like, dude, I cooked paleo lamb shanks, the most amazing 6 hours, and it was just this beautiful meal, man. And my partner turned to me, you don't even know me. This is the most awful thing you've ever done. I can't believe it. And it was just like, where did this come from? I had no idea what that went. And we laugh about this, but like literally pregnant women are outlaws.
Oh, so can I jump in on that one for a second? Because that's so relatable. So my wife was pregnant. I'm trying to help her out, trying to do so much. And I cooked up this, like roasted up all of this meat, and she wanted to eat, and it was amazing. And then she grilled me because of the smell of the meat. And I'm thinking, hold on, I cooked this for you. Yeah. I can relate to that one, dude.
Yeah, man. And so like we as men can't fathom how much a woman's heart feels. Like it's just completely different because they're emotional beings, not logical beings. Like women chase it, they want attention, whereas men want acknowledgement. We're two Venus and Mars things. And so, yeah, with women need to circle up with other women and talk about their challenges of motherhood, to talk about what's going on with them. And so it's not saying that we need to be separate, but it's like, let's disconnect from our roles to reconnect to ourselves and our gender, but then come back together. And this is why I think men's work, and this is my belief, that men's work is going to be bigger than the feminist movement. The women needed to rise, so they rose up for themselves. Whereas men's work, while we're coming into union, while we're seeking counsel from other men, is exactly what we're saying, to become better fathers. It's no longer about the gender, it's about for the sake of our family, for the sake of fatherhood, for the sake of our partnership or our partner. So yes, one is for ourselves, but there's a deeper layer to it because we becoming better men in turn is directly helping our family. And that's why we're turning these circles, so that our family gets the best version of us and we get to learn all these tools. So I know that's a long-winded answer, but that was men's work.
No, that's awesome. So let's dive back because there's a video on Facebook that you put out. It's about half an hour, and I'm sure that we're going to link it up in the show notes. I think it's important for people to get that background of you. But you spoke about you came from a really strong, loving family, but at the age you kind of have two experiences of having a dad. So I would say your biological dad left when you were 7, and then you have what you called your second dad. So going back to being a 7-year-old boy and your dad leaving and going into housing. You got both perspectives. So from that first, before we delve into second dad and the lessons from there, what was the emotional, I guess, baggage? Like, how was that when your dad left at 7? Because you have enough to understanding then. That's not 1 or 2. That's a decent time. Yeah,
man. And so I'm the eldest of 5. And at that point, I was the eldest of 4. So at 7 years old. And so It was horrific, man, because I remember all the violence. I remember seeing it. The last time I kicked mum and dad's door in, so to stop the noise and everything, and I saw blood on mum's face, and like the funny part of that is that mum had broken dad's nose, so it wasn't mum's blood, and so I didn't know that, but at the time I just saw that, and so as a 7-year-old boy, man, it's horrific. But for me, it really ingrained in me this protector of like protecting the feminine, protecting my family, that big brother role, which has also been detrimental at times as well. But there's that place of leadership that I found this courage within me within 7 years old to stand up to a full grown adult and protect his mum. And so, yeah, my first tattoo was mum's name on my heart, man. We went to war together. And so, yeah, and then to see dad go, man, it was like super challenging then. It was like, and I didn't have anyone to talk to about it. Like we didn't go to therapy or anything like that. It was just, I suppressed all of that. And I remember mum saying to me, it's me and you now, Blaise, you're the man in the house. And I took that as literal because I was a kid. So I was getting my brothers and sisters up for school. I was ironing their lunches. I was making dinner. I was helping mum like her husband would or my dad would, which was amazing because I'm super independent, but I also lost my childhood. And so I lost that fun. But at the same age, I started playing rugby league. And so all of that anger and frustration I took out on the footy field, which I got celebrated for. And so from a very young age, I was super aggressive. Captain every team I ever played in, played for New Zealand and Queensland, had NRL contracts and scholarships. And it just built this persona or this identity of Blaise the footy star. And that's where I put all my focus and energy. And then dad came back into the scene, my biological father, when I started making rep teams.
Yeah, okay.
And so this was really interesting because as a young boy coming into like puberty, this is what I wanted. I craved the eldership. I just wanted my father there. And he was. And he was a very active dad. He'd always come to every single footy match, every rep team. He was a photographer. He was taking photos. He's giving them away to all the parents and everything. So he was there. Yet when I turned 18, got in a lot of trouble with the law, got a 3-year suspended jail sentence, I needed some cash to pay for a barrister. Because I was about to serve 3 years jail time. And I asked dad for help and he said no. And so as a young man, 18 years old, what we do. We were like, well, fuck you. I'll turn my back on you. I'll see how much you love me. I'll stop playing rugby league. So I literally quit the thing that I loved the most and we didn't talk for a year. So I made a realization and I realized something about my dad that my mum she had her own opinions, but she allowed me to figure that shit out on my own. So my mum taught me a huge lesson about parenting in those years because she could see how much I was loving to having dad there, but she could also see the underlying current of the real truth, like that underlying thing. So yeah, man, I don't know where I would be if I didn't have rugby league because I was able to channel so much of that anger and that pain and that hurt into something and have an outlet.
Well, can we come back to that then, right? Because obviously we spoke about your biological dad, and obviously I want to touch on how now you feel about that process in terms of, what your biological dad has taught you over the years, because that would have been a teaching lesson nonetheless. But I really want to kind of touch on how your stepdad really rose to the position of being, I don't want to say your real dad, but your real dad.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So there's a process, and your viewers can do this, and especially if you've like looking at my fatherhood. The picture I painted is like he's an arsehole, he's a tyrant, but there's some amazing qualities that he has as well. And so what we can do is you write your dad's attributes all down the left hand side, good, bad, everywhere in between. So you write all of his attributes. and then you give it a score out of 10 of how that you embodied it. So him being super aggressive and violent, I use that, but I'm not doing that as a father. He's super OCD and analytical, and he's a graphic designer as well. So he's super creative. I've got that. I love being creative. So there's attributes to my dad and how it's structured is and organized is. It's amazing to see what I use, but then what I didn't use from him. So
is this your stepdad or your biological dad?
That's my biological dad, man. So yeah, but then yeah, so my stepdad came in when I was around 12. And then it was like knowing what I know now is like, I wore the alpha mask, man, like the mask of masculinity. I had that alpha mask on. It was my family. You're coming in. That's my mum. I remember I could hear them having sex and it would just drive me insane, man. And mum and people were asking me what's wrong. I just didn't have the confidence to say that I could hear them having sex. And it was just like that. It was like this real protective thing. It's like, that's my mum. You can't do this. This is my family and you can't come in. So I made his life hell, like literally hell from 12 to 16. It was like, fuck you. I don't want anything to do with you. And, I got a couple of hidings here and there, like mum and dad, my second dad. But yeah, hit us with a belt, all that kind of stuff. And I remember the day dad went to hit me with a vacuum cleaner. I always say I deserved every one of these. Like I was just a brat, but I caught the vacuum thing. I caught it and I was like 16. I was like, oh, you can't do this anymore. So we actually pugged on a couple of times. And I literally had a couple of punch ups, and I remember one was in the kitchen, and I literally just rang my sister because my youngest sister is to my stepdad, and I rang my sister. She's 12 years younger than me. I rang her about 4 months ago because I remembered this. I was talking on a podcast like, fuck, man, I've just inflicted violence into my little sister, and she was like maybe 4 or 5, man. And she saw exactly this trauma that my biological father had done to me. So I just rang her like, I'm so sorry, sis, for all of that. She couldn't remember it. Didn't remember it, but I remember just, man, my sister was there. And then I was punching her dad, which is my dad. So that was that. But then it was on my 21st birthday that I'd moved away from home. I started like adventuring out. I was really independent on my own. That I had this realization that this dude, my dad, my second dad, he took on 4 kids that weren't his own. And on my 21st birthday, I remember saying thank you because it really landed. Like what the enormity of what he did to the best of his ability provide a life for us. Like I went to private school. We had a roof over our head. There was never a night we didn't have any dinner. Like he would drop me to footy. He was just there, man. With his daughter, he would be so tired, like so exhausted at the end of the day. Every day he'd go at the back and kick the soccer ball with her. And he would have to drag his ass outside to do it. I could see how exhausted he was, but he showed me what devotion as a father was. And now with as time has been progressing, and for me becoming a dad, it's like, man, I learned so much of how to be a father, not a dad, but how to be a father from my stepdad. Because anyone can be a fucking dad, man. All you gotta do is have sex. But it takes a real man to be a father. And that fatherhood doesn't mean necessarily biological.
So obviously then you learn how to be a dad, I guess you'd say in, the correct way is a bad way to pigeonhole it, but you learned so many valuable lessons. A question that I have circling back, and you're 21 and you've had these realizations, so I'm assuming you have a good relationship with him now. With your biological dad, after, rugby league and stopping that, have you patched things up? Do you guys still communicate? Because obviously you've done a lot of work on yourself.
Yeah, man. So part of men's work, so I'm 38 now. When I was 32, did this program called Man Cave. And one of them was to have a clearing conversation. And so reach out to people and clear the air. And I'd done a lot of work of energy healing and forgiving dad for all that. So I got this place of sovereignty, but there was still some closure I needed. And I just wanted to take responsibility. So I rang dad and just asked if I could have a chat. I just remember how it took me 20 minutes to convince him that I wasn't in a cult, that he was trying to get the credentials of everyone that was in this program and running it. He was just that kind of dude, man. He felt safe. So we had a chat and I just asked a lot of questions. And I got to ask about his childhood, and his whole childhood was way more horrific than what he did to me. It was insane. I also found, at the same time, I changed my last name. So Grinner's not my last name by default. So when I found out I was having a boy, I'm changing my name. I'm in the man in my lineage to break this cycle. So I changed it to Grinner. The reason Grinner actually sounds like a last name. And when my partner and I, we met online, and my tagline was smiles and smirks, giggles and grins. I was like, fuck, man. And then I always thought I was going to be playing playing footy. And so I remember as a kid, I'd go and to the footy, get signatures, and I couldn't even read the person's name, man. So I wanted my signature to the kids knew who it was when I was footy. But then now I sign my name, I've got a smiley face in my signature. And so it just makes me feel good every time I sign my name now. That's just a side note.
That's so good. I love that.
Mate, I'm not going to follow in those footsteps. My I didn't do the online dating thing, but I did the MySpace thing, right? My MySpace name was Buddy Hump, so I'm not going to go change my surname to Ken Buddy Hump.
Ken Buddy Hump, I love it.
But dude, I love that story. That's an awesome backstory. And you know what? Things like that always gives you a lot of substance, right? I mean, it doesn't matter what family you came from, but it matters about what you're prepared to do now to stop the cycle of neglect, to stop the cycle of whatever you may have suffered from in the past, because everyone suffered in their own right? So, mate, this is just awesome. This is just so good.
Yeah, so part of that conversation was to actually let Dad know I was going to take his name. That's a really interesting conversation to ever have. Say hey man, I'm not going to take your name. He was very forthright, and he said to me, whatever you ever want to know, I'll always answer whatever questions. It was not he was going to give me the information. I had to search for it. And so I asked him, I'm going to change my name. And he's like, yeah, I can understand why. He then told me this family secret, bro, that his real last name, and so all my brothers and sisters' last name isn't our real last name. It is his stepfather's last name. And so my intention was to break the lineage, and then literally through me change my last name, because mum didn't even know this. So all my brothers and sisters, their last name is Dad's stepdad, not his biological father, because his stepfather came in at 2 years old and his mum swapped the names over to all the kids. It was oh my God. So my last name really should be Burke. And it's really interesting because I've got a lot of Aboriginal mates with their last name Burke. So I think that I have Aboriginal heritage, and I'm so drawn to that culture. I'm actually Kiwi. I'm Māori. My mum's Māori. I was born in New Zealand. Don't sound it, 'cause I moved here when I was 4. But I've got to keep reverence for this. So this is my thing. I'm going to start searching for that. But yeah, through that, there was, so we had that first, that was at 32. And then about a couple of years later, I could still feel there's this energetic heaviness there. And I wanted to forgive my dad, but I didn't want to judge him anymore. But I just wanted to claim back my power and say, look, man, there's some things that happened in my childhood that I wasn't happy with. I just want to let you know, I'm not blaming you, but I just got to be heard because I didn't say it then. And there was a couple of times there was violence and everything. And he's like, mate, I don't even remember that, because he was pissed. He was drunk. Couldn't remember a thing, man. And so I was able to claim it all back. And so that was amazing. Just had this energy, and then it all crashed. And I was like, you think that you got it all figured out. You think you've done all the work. And then the universe got that polite or humble way to just show you no. So it came to my first Father's Day. Rain Dad, rest in happy Father's Day. And I was driving over to my in-laws for the day. And we spoke for, I think it was a minute, 27 seconds. And he didn't wish me happy Father's Day. And we hung up. And I looked at my partner, and she's like, he didn't wish you happy Father's Day. And I literally just broke. It was bang. That's the one thing that I hold so deep in my heart was to become a father. I made a father, and everyone was myself and everyone was so proud. And the one person that didn't acknowledge it was my dad. So yeah, that was super traumatic, and it put me into depression. And so the next day I just wanted to sleep in, and I hit my alarm, snooze 7 times. And I remember this a mentor of mine in my head, and it's don't let him be the reason you go back. And so I'm like, fuck it. I'm not going to let it. So I got up, cleared my day, and went to work, man. So everything that I teach men, I went and did. Limited release, hate letters, fucking primal screens, hit shit. But I was just numb. Nothing was coming up. My partner's the coach. Hey, babe, extract, help me. Nothing. And then she had no idea. She goes, face off with yourself in the mirror. Lock yourself in the room and do not come out until you find out why you're numb. And so I just looked in the mirror, man, and I was just kept repeating myself, what are you avoiding? Blaise, what are you avoiding? And for 15, 20 minutes, again and again. And finally, somatically, just went bang. And what it was is big tears is I created this stoicism within myself and everything I was leading that I didn't want other men in my team to see that I still had dad issues. And so the first thing I did was jumped on a live and just allowed all that emotion to pour out of what was happening in my life and allowed men really come into what was going on. So that was that, healed that. And then did another men's program, another man, a really beautiful, he was my very first mentor, and now he's a really great mate. His name's Jetty Azuma. He's got the Rising Man podcast, Rising Man movement. He's in the States, amazing human. And so he had this program called Dads on Purpose. And so rather than having a clearing call, which was like talking about all the heavy stuff and claiming back your power, it was a closing call. And the way that they framed that was like having a conversation with your dad. Like, go have a chat with your dad and thank him for everything. I was just like, man, I don't have to wait for my deathbed for that. And so I'm like, this is amazing. Or for his deathbed. Just for your viewers. So my dad is coming on 70. And I saw this thing on Instagram the other day. Someone said, about rekindling your relationship with your father. And he's like, it's all good, man. He's 70. I've still got 20 years. He goes, really? How often do you see your dad? Is it once a year? And he's like, yep. And he goes, well, you've got 20 times left to see him if he makes it to 90. With my dad, I see him once every maybe 2 to 3 years. So if he's got that's maybe 6 times that I get to see my dad again. And that really lands like, fuck, man, I really need to have this closing conversation with him, but I want to do it face to face. Now, I've been reaching out to him and he's just not willing. He's not meeting me, man. And I'm going to bring my family up, man. I'll come and see you this last Easter. I'll come up. I just want to spend some time with you. And I think because of all the heaviness and he's had to divulge a lot of stuff, it's been super confronting for him. And then he got things like the Wednesday before Good Friday, last Easter. He's like, I don't want you to come up anymore. I was just heartbroken. And then my birthday was in March. And so he sent me a text message for my birthday. So I rang him and he iced the call. And I sent him a message like, hey man, just want to hear your voice. And he texted me straight away. And the text straight back, it was just like, man, he just didn't even want to talk to me. And so I just I had to lay it all on the table and was just like, man, I really want to see you face to face. There's only so many more times I'm ever going to see you. Becoming a father, I just realized I want this relationship so bad. And it just wasn't received. And he's like I told you last year, I'll come up and see you when I can. And I was just like, fuck. So it's super challenging. And so for me, my work is to let go of the attachment of who I think he should be and stop judging him from my values and my beliefs and everything like that. And as much as I can, just express how much I want that and crave that and just keep opening him up, even though it's raw. So yeah, man, it's super challenging at the moment.
I just want to jump in and say thanks for sharing that, because obviously, if you have a guest on, there's probably a preconception that everyone has their stuff worked out, or there's a happy ending to the story. So thanks for being vulnerable and opening up and just sharing that, you're still a work in progress and there's things that, that you're going through as well. But Ken, I'll let you run through. I'll let you kick on from there, man.
Yeah, look, I gotta jump on with Brendo there. Thank you very much for that. But it looks like even though you had the door closed on you more than once from your biological dad, and you're trying to get out there and you're trying to connect. And to me, that's just it's amazing, because you practice what you preach with your teachings, which is so powerful. But it's amazing that you've actually had someone else there to be that fatherly figure, and I'm not saying dad figure, but this fatherly figure to really teach you right from wrong, to lead you in the right direction, to give you the support, the guidance, and the love that you needed. Because, a family without love is not a family at all, right? And I know you still came from a family of amazing love, which is what you said. So that's really, really important. I think I can see that with just your demeanor, how you kind of show up to your family and how you talk about your family. There's so much love there. And it sounds like, Brendo said, we're looking for this beautiful ending. But it sounds like through all the trauma, through all the shit that you had to go through, the happy ending is for your kids. Your kids get a father that shows up, a father that comes to the picture, the father that is devoted, and it doesn't matter how much shit he's gone through in the day, still shows up every single day to be the best dad he can possibly be.
Yeah, man. It's interesting how we as men, it's not the actual things or humans, it's not the thing that we desire. So it's not the house or the job or the purpose or whatever it is. It's the feeling that thing gives us that we desire as humans. Now, that feeling can drive us and motivate us. And so this is where all of that pain, man, so that pain of my childhood, the pain of like rejection, rather than succumbing to that and looking at that as a victim mindset, I use that as my power. Like that shit gets me up every day. Like I've had men in my life kill themselves through suicide. And like that pain of losing someone and just the men suffering in silence, using that pain to fuel me rather than consume me, to fuel me, to get me going, to show up, to when I'm tired as a father, to show up. But then also not just dwelling in that pain and sorrow and using that for fuel, but looking into my future and like, who do I want to be? What do I want to be remembered at? What's my legacy on this planet? What's my mission? What kind of dad can I be? What's the best a husband I can be? How much impact can I create in the planet? And tapping into those feelings and daily just using those things to fuel me, man, has been super, super amazing, man. And I think that, for people, when we have that story, when we're able to let go of, those experiences, I don't like the words trauma, but those experiences in life, when we're able to get them out of our nervous system, it can come and sit on our shoulder. And when it's our shoulder and there's nothing in the body anymore, it becomes our superpower because we can help people with that. I hope that there's a viewer that listens right now that is inspired to go reach out to their dad again, even though you've been knocking the door for like years and it's still not there. It's just remember that no is just next opportunity, and he's not rejecting you, he's just rejecting the offer. And so I'm just learning and just keep saying it to a dad in a different way so that he may then hear me, and then maybe we can rekindle that and maybe have a relationship that I desire. So
I want to kind of move away from this now because this has been such an amazing story, but I want to talk about something else. And so, you've really gone out of the tradie life. You had a career, you knew where you were going, you had a future plan for yourself, you had direction. And then, you wanted to throw that all essentially in the bin and focus on men's work and focusing on your business, finding your purpose and passion. And obviously, along the way, you decide to have a kid and a baby, and that having a baby, that's also part of your purpose, your mission and your vision. But, there's something obviously greater than that, than just being a dad, of course. And that's why you're put on this planet to run these workshops and really teach other men. So can you give us a little bit of guidance in terms of, there's guys out there, they're stuck in a 9-to-5 or they're stuck in a business that they hate. They're stuck doing things that they hate. How do people, and they become a dad, so they just put their purpose and vision in becoming the best father they possibly can, which is fantastic. But how do they find a greater meaning in life? Because ultimately, if we're good parents, we teach our kids to leave the nest and become independent and not necessarily need us. We're there, but they don't need us. So how do we search for something bigger than ourselves?
Yeah. So the very first thing that we need to do is choose ourselves. We men have been taught to do everything for everyone else, especially say we're working. Say we use construction for an example. So we're in construction. We've got a job. It's cushy. We know what's happening. We know money in the bank. We work budgets. It's happening. A baby comes into, or a child comes into life. We feel that pressure. And so there's this mindset that happens of I have to provide. I have to do this. I have to make money. And it's a belief system that may not be the most beneficial for all of us. And it's from old paradigms, old conditioning from our dad and our dad's dad. And I'm not telling people to go jump and leave jobs right now. But the thing is, there's what I call your transition. But the thing that our children remember the most is how they felt with the time that they have with us. Is how they feel. And so if we're exhausted because we're doing 12, 14-hour days and we can't give them the presents, is that really the life that you want to provide for them? Literally take money off the table now. Because for me, I grew up in housing commission. Literally had no brand new anything, but I turned out fucking amazing. It worked really good and I have an amazing work ethic. And I work hard. So I turned out okay. It all panned out. But the thing was, that quality connection, that time and presence wasn't really there. And so that's what I want to give my children is that. And so with that mindset, so back 6 years ago, I was in that mindset. All I knew was construction. That's the only, the background I had, only thing I'd ever done. I tried entrepreneurship and it went okay. But then it got to a point of money. And so I was okay, I could do this full time. It was a mobile cocktail bar and it was amazing. It was the first people in Queensland to do that. And it was amazing. It was we can do that or I could go in construction. At the time, I had a partner that, oh, that's going to be more secure. I was 24. I'll go down that route, the security with construction. So I felt, especially when that I was stuck. This is all that I knew. I had never done business before, and I tried in business at 24, had failed. So I just thought I was stuck. And so for the men that feel like they're stuck, what happens is we have blinkers on. And so we've got these blinkers on thinking this is the only reality that I can choose. And especially if there's debt and there's all these other bills and expenses there, we think, oh, I can't do anything else until that's white. That is a lone wolf mentality, man. And it is like this mask that men wear that they just grind out in life. I've seen men on the job sites. There's dudes like in their 60s saying that they hate the fucking job and they're still in it.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like, what the fuck? You hate it. In construction industry, men's are like, I'd say to my team, like, how are you today, man? He goes, oh, living the fucking dream. And it's like, really? You're telling yourself this is the dream that you want, that you're so upset, you're so miserable, you hate this job again and again and again. You're telling yourself this. You're going to stay stuck. So how do we take the blinkers off? Like, how do we get unstuck? What we need to do is open up our awareness to new possibilities. So the way that I did that, the way that I teach my clients that, and I've got one right now doing exactly the same thing. So when he came with me 3 months ago, it's like, I've got the job, it pays the bills, it's good money, but he's got 4 kids and he's a footy coach and he's up before them. So he's got no mornings with them. He gets home, he's exhausted. So it's good work, but it's not really designed for his lifestyle. He hasn't had a holiday in 4 years. Hasn't had a holiday with his family in 4 years. The only time he can take off is 2 days because they need someone to fill his job. Like, he's a contractor. So working with him got into a point now is to open up the blinkers. Well, first we had to reset his value system, find out his values. So your view is find out what your values are, because maybe time with your kids isn't important to you. But if it, hopefully it is, hopefully time is. I'm not trying to tell you how to be a man, but you need to discover this for yourself. What is your value system? What's important to you? If you could have the ideal day, what would that look like? If you had an ideal week, what would that look like? So find out what your values are. Then look at the limits and beliefs that are pertaining to you stepping out on doing something and following those values. Reclaim yourself. So look into yourself and find that inner, that warrior within you, using your voice, look after home and look after relationship before you even want to go changing the careers. Now, in all of that, you're going to find the confidence within yourself. And you can find this new essence and this new way of life, because you then know that this job maybe is the stepping stone to the next thing. And so when you go into it, it no longer has you, you have it. Because a lot of people are saying, I have to work, I need to work. That's a victim mindset and a worker mindset. Now, a winner would say, who do I need to be right now? I be a man that chooses to go to work for his family. I choose that. I'm good with that. I don't have to do it. I don't need to do it. No, I've got a gun to my head saying I have to do this job. You've just created a belief that you have to and you need to. Yes, you need to survive, but you could also scrub toilets. But the reason you're not scrubbing toilets and the reason you don't have the time is because you think it's below you. This is the thing, man. When I failed in business, when I jumped, I had to have 3 part-time jobs. I was back on the street, so I was a foreman running a $140 million project. And then I went back as a concreter on the street. And so that ego hit for that. I was towing caravans. I was working 1 day a week in corporate. And I literally needed support and coaching with my mindset because I thought I was less than a man.
Yeah.
But it was the happiest I've ever been because it was on my terms for the once in my life.
So it's your mindset that's important, right? And I know you use this term, right? It's not life doesn't happen to you, life happens for you.
Correct.
Such an epic quote. Look,
yeah.
We've only got a couple more minutes here. I want to be really, really appreciative of your time. And I've got 2 more questions left. And I think Brendo might have 1 or 2 as well. So Brendo and I are both new dads rocking, obviously, this new game of fatherhood and growing businesses as well. So what can you tell us about how we can show up to be the best version in all 3 areas of our lives that really matter, which is, being an amazing dad and father, being an amazing partner, and obviously being a great business owner as well? How can we show up to be those people in our lives at the best?
Yeah, man. I'll give you the advice and I'll give you the actual how to do it. So take how prolific you are in your work and implement that time management into your entire life. So a lot of us know how to be structured in business, how to do all of that, but plug that into our life. The way we do that is a method called pockets of time. So there's 96 pockets of time in a day if you break it into 15-minute intervals. You work 8 hours, 32 pockets of time. You sleep 8 hours, 32 pockets of time. So it means you've got 32 pockets of time left in the day to spend how you want on the people you want to spend that with. Now, how many of those pockets of time are in your head? How many you spent wasting, worrying, all that kind of stuff? When you realize that these pockets of time are going to be finite and you've got 32 pockets of time in a day, what are you going to spend that on? How are you going to show up for your kids? How present are you going to be with the kids? How are you going to fill up your cup? How are you going to also nourish your partner? And so separating everything and managing your whole life, have some structure within your life so that everything is separate. And that when you're very structured and you're rigid with this time frames, cool, I'm working, I'm in, I'm just gangster with that. Set up boundaries in your life. Like my office here, my partner will knock. She will not come in here because I know that if I break my state, it takes me 20 minutes to get back in the flow state. So I need to be setting up boundaries and parameters. But when I'm out there, I'm on. Man, I'm in love with energy. I'm super present as a dad. My work doesn't come in there. My phone is separate. So being really super disciplined with that, man. I think that has been the biggest game changer for me as a father, and to be able to do it all that simultaneously.
Man, I love that. And having that discipline and that idea of that finite time. I know, when I'm in that work mode, if I get disturbed, I'm like, hold on, I've got this 8-hour block to get this done. If you're taking that time away from me, that can affect my time at home, my kids, getting back into it, and you want to be super efficient. So I've got a question that I always ask. I've grown up in the health and fitness industry. That's where Ken and I first met. You're obviously NRL, so I always ask, as a dad, how do you avoid the dad bod, and how do you take care of your health and fitness within this schedule?
Within my priority, or my second highest value is integrity. And so within integrity, I have priority orders. So my health and spirituality is number one. It comes before my future wife, comes before my kids, becomes before men's work, comes before my team. So I need to be looking after my health and spirituality. Now that cycles between my morning routines. And so at the moment, I've got a slip disc in my back. So I'm physically not in the gym, but I'm doing stretching. For me also, what I've really looked into the past 3 years is my gut health. So I've realized that everything starts from my gut. So cleaning out the bacteria and parasites and all that, has made me get so much more energy. Drinking a lot of water, just making sure that I have my water intake, that I'm getting good rest, getting good sleep. I meditate pretty much every night. I listen to guided meditations, do a lot of breath work, and I physically love I love moving my body, man. I'm active, I'm a surfer, we love going outdoors. So for me, it's not about losing the dad bod. My why I train and why I'm healthy is to keep up with my kids, to stay active. So I started fatherhood a little bit later. So I'm a little bit pudgy right now, but I'm super active still. And so for me, it's not about image anymore. It's about being active and mobile and flexible.
Love that. And look, I've got a closing question I want to ask, but before I get there, because you said you're a surfer, I can definitely tell you're a surfer, by the way. But
I had the long hair, man. I literally,
bro. I had the long hair, believe it or not.
Yeah, no, we don't believe you, bro. So, Blaise, when was the first time you took, one of your kids for a surf? Did you put them on the board as a baby? What was the first moment?
Bro, we went to LD to get a trampoline for Brett's second birthday. So he would have been 2 years and a couple of months. And we're in LD and he saw these foamy 4'10" surfboards and he's like, board. I'm like, yeah, boy, yeah. And so that afternoon took him down to Curra's and just held it on, and he stood on the board. But he's been super, he's so balanced. We got balance boards and everything in the gym. And so he's just been on them as soon as he could stand up, man. And so yeah, I remember we took him down to Happy's, man. I've got this video, I've got the board and the cuppa and we run on the beach and we're running to chase waves, man. And he's
so amazing.
Too. And yeah, pushing him in the waves at that age. But then what I've realized too is I noticed I was so attached to the idea of me going on surf trips with my kids. And I know what happened when my father had that kind of pressure on me. I rebelled. So right now with everything, it's here, try it on. And we'll just cause Pop pushed him into a wave and he went ass up. And so he's a little bit edgy of the waves now. Whereas before he used to love it. He was way at the back, man. I was edgy because he's a really good swimmer. So now we're just navigating that, man. But yeah, had him on a board. He was on 11 footer at 9 months.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
9 months old. He's out in 11, like in chest deep water. I had a life jacket on him, but yeah, 9 months old. He's on 11.
Brendo, Evie's 9 months now, right?
Evie's 9 months. I can't. We're doing swimming school at the moment. I go take her, and she's on the little foamy balance beam thing. I can't imagine. I grew up in Canberra, man. We didn't have surf. I sucked at skating, so it was rugby league and baseball for me. But Ken, this is my favourite question. I'm going to let you roll it out because you do it so eloquently. Go for it.
Are you sure? Okay. All right. Well,
I'm sure.
Look, this is the one, right? Like, what is one question no one has ever asked you around being a dad, generating wealth, running a business, balancing time, whatever, right? Whatever it is that you secretly wish someone has asked you. Like, what is that one question?
This is deep.
Yeah, he's getting to a place to state.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I'm just really lucky that I've got so many deep men in my life that we talk so much about it. Maybe, actually, the one question is, I haven't been asked how I do what I do, but pertaining to my best mates. So we are best mates. We have invested in each other's business, so we own 10% and shares in each other's business. I'm coaching one of them, who's my best mate. The other one is coaching another one, and we are able to navigate everything and not have any fights about it. And so what we have is so fucking unique and special, but no one's asked me yet how we're doing it. Like, how are we able to be in business, coach each other, run fatherhood, and have our families meet and navigate everything, and talk about money and everything like that, and they're facilitators for me, and like how 3 businesses are interwoven that are completely different. One's a landscaper, one's a consultant, and a coach. How they're all interweaving into each other, and navigate that. So that's something that no one's asked me just yet.
So let me ask you the question. How does it work?
Boundaries. Just based everything on authenticity, and it's like, man, and so we've set up different channels, and so we know if it's a business message, it goes into this thread. So we use Messenger for business. If it's personal, we go through our text messages. If it's this, it's in that way. So we separate the hats. If we're doing a business message, we will just, hey man, I've got a personal message, cut it off, restart it. So we're splitting the energy every single way. And we're very open and forthright with everything, man. Like, nothing's on the table. We talk about everything. We don't let anyone slide. We've got like standards that we want to hold each other accountable to. And yeah, we're just like treating our relationship as if it's like a men's team, man. It's like deep, like really, really deep.
That's wild,
awesome.
man. I love that. Hey, I have never heard that within that dynamic, and I know business partnerships can often go sideways. So that's something I really, really do appreciate. But Blaise, thank you so much for your time, man. Like always, I feel like we've only just unpacked a little bit of this, and I'm sure that would love to catch up soon. But man, so much valuable info in there. Now, if you want to find more about Blaise, you can go to blazegrinner.com. It's BlaseGrinner.com, or you can find him on Facebook, Blaise Grinner. That's with an S, not with a Z.
It is, man. If you have time, I just want to give the viewers, if they're still here, the men that may be still feeling stuck in that job. So just some questions to journal on. So if you're still feeling stuck, you want to open that new possibility to new things, to journal on like that ideal life. So what is your, like, the ideal day? What does that look like? What is your ideal work, week? What does that look like? What are the things that you love to do? What are your superpowers? What are the things what would you be doing if you had $1 million? What would you have to do if you had $0? Ask yourself, who are you? Who am I? And sit with that question, deeply sit with, who am I? Then if money wasn't an option, what would you be doing? And then write all of that. And then what that's going to do is excite you for new possibilities, but you don't need to figure out the how. You don't need to figure out how to pull all of that together, but just you putting that open is going to take those blinkers off and like, oh, maybe it's not construction anymore. Maybe it isn't this office job. Maybe, and you are able to see, it's like, man, I can see why I don't like this job because it doesn't have everything that I love in it. And then what job is going to give me all of that? And then that can start this new thought pattern and open your mind as well.
I love that. So, Ken, you and me, we can go through that. I think that's something that we can actually do together, and we can actually put that out through, obviously do it individually, but if we do that as a project together, and we can share that and get a little bit vulnerable with our guys ourselves.
Sounds good, man. I love that. Guys, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. And guys, for the viewers, if you're watching, if you're listening, whatever you're doing, make sure you check out Blaise. He is an absolute wealth of knowledge and a gun out there online and puts out some really, really great content. And but yeah, guys, check him out. His details will be in the show notes. But until next time, this is the Dadbub Show. It's Ken and Brendo, and we'll see y'all soon.